Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome. So, thanks everyone for joining us. This is Jenny. This is Jenny Hahn. Oh, I have, okay, there we go. I had YouTube going at the same time, and that was very confusing. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming. Let me go through and first welcome everybody. Can you hear me? Can people hear me?
I can
Okay.
hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so we had Patrice in first, and she says she's so
Yay.
excited. Let's see. She says, I'm so excited for this. I'm sending love and good vibes out to Kristen and Jenny as they prepare for their live. This is going to be so powerful. I can feel it already. That's high praise right there. Let's see. Justin is here. Hi, Justin. And Donna. Hi, Donna. And oh, there's me. Hey, Gerald from the Hermit Mage. And let's see, Jenna from Jennifer Ball's Witch House. Let's see, anyone? Deanne from Blue Crescent Tarot. Hi, Deanne.
Hello.
And then there's May's Cat. Hi, hi, hi. And Jonathan. Aloha. And let's see, Scott. Hi, Scott. Good to see you from Scorpio Moon Tarot. And Jen from Jen's Balanced Tarot. She's the one that did that wonderful review of the deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
For that review.
And oh, we got Jackie. Hey, Jackie. And then we have Ange from Tiny Trinkets and Tarot. Wow, people just keep coming in. This is wonderful. Okay, hi Regina, Regina from Regina Tarot. And then we got Lori from Lori Tries Life. Hi, Lori. And I think I reached the end, at least for now. I think we'll get started. So if anyone else comes in, hi. I hope I didn't miss anyone.
In advance.
Yes, hello in advance. So, yeah, well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm very nervous.
Then you're not alone.
But this should be nice. Like I'm really thankful. Thank you so much for doing this. Like the first thing when I got your deck, um, I should show Wisdom of the Shadow Oracle. And when I opened this, like I saw images online, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful." I'm very picky with my Oracle decks, very very picky. And then when I saw that, I was like, "That is absolutely stunning." And then when I got it and I opened it up, it was just like, it was like, "Oh my gosh."
An
This
explosion of color, right?
Yes, this explosion of color and meaning and emotion.
Yes.
And I just wanted to just find out, like, what should we do first? Let's introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's do that first.
Sounds good. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jenny Hahn. I'm an artist in the Midwest of the U.S. near Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm also a workshop facilitator and now Oracle creator, along with my co-creator, Jessica Ricchetti, which we'll talk about all that in a bit. I've been painting professionally for about 20 years now, and I've been using painting also simultaneously as a tool for my own healing. And I'm sure we'll get into that story as well. So yeah, I have my own studio here, and then I also now teach as well, sharing that process with others and just using painting as a tool for self-discovery and for mindfulness and ultimately for healing.
Wonderful.
And I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So can you share a little bit more about how painting just in general can be used for healing?
Sure. Well, any art form, really, art is a connection to the soul. And there's a misconception that we have to be an quote artist to use art, and that's not at all true. Like most people that I work with, haven't picked up a paintbrush since they were in first grade or elementary school. And art really is, it drops us from our head, our ego space, into our hearts, into our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing what will show up. It really is a connection to the mystery. So at times when we, there will be pre-verbal imagery that can arise that may not make sense to the mind, but really can do some deep, deep healing. So art is accessible to anyone and everyone. Anyone who can hold a paintbrush or whatever the medium is that you choose, art is a very potent tool.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said, anyone could to do art, even if they're not an artist. And that's something I've always struggled with. Like, well, if I can't be good at it, it's that perfectionism that,
Yep.
like, if it's not going to be perfect, then there's no point in doing it, and that's what I was trying to find your perfectionism card. Yeah. What's that?
I said, hey, I have that voice in my head too.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you share with me the process of how this deck came about and like the artwork, the pieces?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so exciting and interesting because I literally have for years now thought about, and I've had folks tell me, your art should really be on cards, on an oracle deck, on tarot, on something, on affirmation cards. And I'm always thinking, yes, I want that. And over the years, I've even met with a couple different individuals who said they wanted to, partner with me. And so I'd meet and we talk, and and nothing came to fruition. It just wasn't a match. And in 2009, I got just a very clear guidance to go to a women's conference in Sedona. I was going to show my art there, and I did. And I had an art display, and it was wonderful. And, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but something very important happened at that event. Mm-hmm. I met Jessica Ricchetti for the first time. And we talk about this in the book, in the deck, but within 24 hours of meeting each other, we both knew, like it came up. She was so moved by my paintings. Jessica is a priestess and an energy alchemist in Asheville, North Carolina. And she just was so moved by my paintings. And the more we talked and the more I learned about her work, and there was just a connection. And we both knew immediately that we wanted to do this together. Mm-hmm. Now, we thought we would be starting with a Wisdom of the Divine Feminine, and that is actually coming next. So, but the more we looked at the art and everything, and we both have done our own shadow work, healing, and the more we were looking at the images, we just knew that this deck wanted to come first. Mm-hmm. And there's been such a need for it. The responses we've been getting have just been absolutely amazing, that this is filling a need that's there. And it's cool to hear the testimonials. It's just, it's fantastic.
Yeah, this deck is a very, very powerful deck because it's so obvious that it came from a place of love and just something greater than yourself, from you and something beyond you, kind of thing. Yeah. And I think it's moving people in so many different ways, and it's just sort of like this waterfall effect that people are catching on to it. And I've seen so many good walkthroughs of it. Jen from Jen's Balanced Tarot did an amazing, very vulnerable one that I really enjoyed. Yes. And why do you think it is moving? Like, why do you think so many people find it so powerful?
The feedback I've been getting, really, it's twofold. One, that there's not a lot of oracle decks out there that that I'm hearing that really go into the depth of the inquiry of this one. Mm-hmm. Another reason is that and this is something that Jessica wrote in ceremonially so beautifully, is that each core essence, each card basically has a ritual that goes with it. So mm-hmm. This is not a typical oracle deck where it's not so much the predictive, this is what's going to happen in your life kind of reading. This is work. This is like the inner inquiry work. Mm-hmm. So it's a self-discovery tool. And then it has the ritual where you can actually take what you've read and what you've seen in the image and apply it in your life in a very mm-hmm. practical, tangible way. Mm-hmm. So that's my understanding, is that that's somewhat rare in oracle decks, and that it's just the feedback has been it's been incredible. So
awesome. And I'm going to highlight Donna's comment. She said, my sister-in-law is an artist who has worked with traumatized children to help them express themselves using art, and she currently works with Alzheimer's patients. That is amazing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes. Art can be applied in so many different ways and so many populations of people. And it certainly has helped me in my healing and recovery work. And yeah, it's whether it is viewing the art or whether it is creating from your own heart. Like it's, yeah, it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah. See, Jonathan said, I love that each card has 3 questions for deeper work and a ritual connected to help work. Yeah.
Yes, the contemplations. Yes, each card also has that. And so whether you're, one thing I use a lot is journaling as a tool. And so that those questions can be like the starting point for, you know, for journaling, for just, yeah, inner reflection.
Yeah, like so to show my card of the day, which Patrice told me to pull, and I got Rising, which is the Phoenix, which I thought was so apropos and so meaningful because it's one of my favorite cards in the deck. And speaking of the contemplation, so the contemplation questions that went with this card is, what within me am I ready to release into life's flames? How can I honor the parts of self that are no longer here? And what new identity do I choose to rebirth myself as? And I think those are amazing questions to sort of, you know, springboard us into this conversation about recovery and self-healing. And it doesn't have to just apply to eating disorders. It can apply to many, many different things. But I guess I should explain to myself, explain me, because some people might not realize that I've recovered from an eating disorder. I had a purging disorder for years, but finally at the beginning of, like around the beginning of like the lockdowns and the pandemic, I finally was able to recover. And so I don't know how long it's been. I'll have to see when I posted my video, how long it's been since I've like officially can say, okay, this is for real.
Yeah.
So, and when I saw the deck, I thought like this would be amazing work. I was thinking of even buying it from my former therapist, you know, and sending it to her. I bought one for my mom, you know, and I just thought that this was such an amazing deck that could be used for healing from an eating disorder. And you shared that you also struggled with an eating disorder earlier in your life. Can you share a little bit about your story?
Absolutely. So around the time that I was 15 or so, when we moved to a new city, I started recording every calorie that I ate, and that wasn't something that was necessary to do, but that gave me a sense of control, and it eventually, over the years, kind of bloomed into anorexia, and I struggled with that for about 10 years total. So there was a little bit of binging mixed in, but for the most part, it was self-starvation. So by the time I was in college and when I graduated from college, that was really when I started my recovery path. And it was right around that time that I also found insight meditation. And it was around that time that I started using painting for process. So there's really important tools that really that supported my healing. And a lot of the paintings that are in this deck, they all came from a 20-year span, and a lot of them were created during that recovery work and since then. So I love that you saw this deck, Kristen, and you're like, yes, I think this can help with eating disorder recovery. And that's certainly not what it was created for, but yeah, the images are literally the artifacts of of my healing work. So
Wow. Yeah. Like I saw so much of my own process in it, you know, so I think that even though like we both had different eating disorders, I went through a brief period of anorexia at the beginning, and that's sort of like what triggered it. So basically I went through, it wasn't a moving experience for me. It was, I had a family conflict. It basically was this explosive conflict in the family, and I felt right stuck in the middle. Like I needed to fix it, and I couldn't fix it, and I kept screwing up when I tried to fix it, you know? And so I dealt with all those feelings of shame, and like I needed to be perfect, and
Yes.
somehow it didn't, like I always had issues with like body image and whatnot, but that's not what birthed the eating disorder. It wasn't about being thin, you know? And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And what I love about your deck is it really gets past that surface and, you know,
Right.
sight of, yeah.
Right. That can certainly be a part of it, and the body
Yes.
dysmorphia and things like that. And also for me, and of course, I'm not an expert on eating disorders. I'm speaking from my experience. But for
Yeah.
me, there was a lot inside that I was either unable or unwilling to feel, and didn't have the tools, didn't feel safe to be able to feel. And so, I feel like there's a lot of emotional healing that takes place, and really discovering aspects of myself that I had stuffed down, you mentioned shame earlier, Kristen, like that was a huge part of it for me, is shame and needing to have some sort of control in my life, and having it just play out in that particular way. But there's so many, it's like a multi-layered thing, you know, that yes, it can be influenced by the media and by image and perfectionism and expectations. And also, you know, there's, as with any addiction, there's usually something that is being avoided, or something that feels too big, or we just feel that we can't handle ourselves.
Yeah. And like one of the things, and I should have stated at the beginning, it is in the down bar, but we are not medical professionals. We're just sharing our own personal experiences. But I also like to say that if you are currently not in recovery, and you feel as though this could be triggering for you, I would recommend that you not watch it, because we might mention numbers or certain situations that might be too difficult for you to hear if you're wanting to, you know, recover and avoid those things. So with that out of the way, I don't know where I was going with that, but why I preempted with that, I don't remember. I'm blanking. But let's welcome some people who have come in. Let's see. Sheila has come in. Hi, Sheila. And then Simon from the Hermit's Cave is here. Hi, Simon. Thank you for joining us. He did a wonderful walkthrough.
I love, yes. Thank you for
Yes.
the fabulous walkthrough. Yes.
Yeah. And Jamie has come in, and I think I've gotten everyone. So, so where was I going with that? I guess I was going with, you know, just the act of the addiction of the eating disorder, and how what I learned later on is that, you know, you're dealing with all these strong emotions, and the addiction to the eating disorder is a kind of, it's almost like a drug, in that it numbs you.
Yes.
You know, it numbs those strong emotions, and there's all these strong emotions, and you're just trying to control them. So
Absolutely.
would you say doing the art helped you with those strong emotions?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I was really in the midst of my eating disorder, it almost, I've written about it, that it almost feels like I was floating outside of my body, like that euphoria of not having the burden of a body. And I was completely out of touch with my emotions, especially the emotions that I had stuffed down into my gut, into my belly, and being able to kind of go back in and access and feel them. Painting, I'd say, was probably the most potent tool because I often would paint almost a silhouette of a figure, and then use the image as sort of a map of what is going on, you know, and almost a safer way to kind of explore, and using color and texture. And you know, in meditation, there's often the inquiry of where do you feel that in your body, and what color would it be, what texture, you know, and so being able to explore that visually. I mean, of course, it's not something that we just necessarily dive into on the first image, but just having that safety of coming back to a supportive group week after week, and using these non-threatening tools, and just to explore and see, what am I feeling? Where is that in my body? And what are the unexpressed words and feelings that need to express? There was a lot of, it was almost like there was a whole nother part of me that, words would start to come out, and almost like there was a younger part of me who didn't feel safe to express previously, was able to kind of eventually come out. And, just, it's incredible. Like, it's almost like we're holding the space for ourselves, like creating the container. Some people call it spiritual reparenting, but just to see what is unspoken, what is the pre-verbal expressions that need to come out. And
See, I'm trying to find the inner child, because you were talking about how you're sort of parenting that inner child, and I'm trying to find that.
There's a card for that.
Yeah, and of course I can't find it.
I don't have that one. Let's see. I have a few of the cards pulled, but one of the paintings that I had done was kind of this. Oh, here it is. I have it.
Oh, cool.
This image of kind of the figure with this very subtle, faint child that's kind of curled up in this fetal position. There's these different pieces of ourselves, that maybe don't feel as safe to come out or safe to express their needs. And so, yes, painting has been a tool for that, for making space for them, for listening, for just showing up and noticing what is here.
And so I guess what we can do is start going through the cards we pulled.
Sure.
So Jenny and I just pulled like 5, I think it was 5 cards or 7. I think I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7 cards that we pulled. And so we thought that we would just go through. Hi Zane, I missed you earlier. So we thought we would go through some of the cards that would relate specifically to having an eating disorder, and processing and recovery of eating disorders and whatnot. So the first card that Jenny picked was expectations, and so let me hold that up. Let me see if I can get that focused. There.
Go. Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain this card? Can you describe it?
Sure. Yes. And I have my notes here because I wanted to get the size. So this painting was a tempera paint on paper originally. It was 23 by 35 inches. I created this in 2013. And this painting really, it originated because I had some pain in my back, in my shoulder blade. And so this is an example of investigating. Oh, there's a message from Angela. Hi, Angela. Yes, shame. We're about to get to the shame card.
Yeah, that's card number 2.
This is an example of that, investigating, like, what is this pain in my body, and what is going on here? And the more I investigated it, the more I realized it was these expectations, these outer of unworthiness, of feeling not good enough, it's that perfectionistic drive that you were talking about earlier, Kristen. And so all of these words started to come in too. And it was almost like this, both self-sabotage, but also outer sabotage. And so coming in on the left side, you see kind of this lighter hand kind of on the shoulder. And that's more of the higher self, I suppose, if you will, of I am here for you. You're okay the way you are. And so it's this dichotomy of how do we deal with expectations, whether they are self-imposed or outer imposed, and then how can we negotiate those in our lives. On the card, there's a beautiful ritual about using fire and paper and writing out, what are the expectations in our lives, and which ones do we want to say yes to, which ones do we want to renegotiate, and which ones is it time to burn and release. And so kind of teasing out, where did these come from? Are these legitimate? Are these something that I'm a yes to? And sort of working with it that way.
Yeah, and I think what I think this card is really good at getting across is that expectations can be pushed upon us, but we also have to own the ones that we've put upon ourselves. Like some seem to be sort of coming out of the flesh or going into the flesh, that I think you could subjectively read it either way. And I think that's something like that was important for me to come to terms with, was just owning my peace, in the process of the expectations I put on them, but also giving myself the ability to voice, that's too much what you're asking of me, kind of thing.
Yes. And the ability to say no. That is something that really, in the midst of my anorexia, I did not know how to say no. I didn't have healthy boundaries. And a lot of the cards in this deck, you'll see there's a lot of mouths. And a lot of that has been about, learning to express ourselves, and there's a boundaries card. There's so many cards that relate, but I know we just have a time for a handful here.
Yes.
And I want to also add that there's no right or wrong way to use this deck. And Jessica is very clear in the writing, in the book portion of that, that there's no right or wrong way. In fact, we have a list of suggested uses in the book, whether it is pulling a card or pulling a spread. There's example spreads, but also just if there's an image that speaks to you in this moment, and maybe we can talk about that more later too, but just, different ways to use the deck for.
No, I mean, now's a great time to talk about it. You can pull this card and like your eye will focus on completely different things depending on where you're at the moment. Like, there's so much going on in the card. Like, come on, camera.
Yeah, it doesn't want to focus.
No,
and if there's an image that really speaks to the energy in our bodies in the moment, that image can, that can be posted up somewhere visible in our space, or again, that can be the grounds for writing, for journaling. There's a lot of ways. But especially in those moments where we feel triggered, or where we feel we're going toward our usual coping mechanisms, drawing a card. I know that's been really powerful for me, even if I just feel stuck with something or feel a lot of heavy emotion, just pulling a card and seeing what shows up has been really transformative.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can totally see that. And like what I found interesting about this card is the spine. It's like the spine is sort of like, in this S shape, is this weight is sort of crushing it down.
Yes, it's actually, it has a practical reason too. So I have scoliosis in my spine.
That's what I was going to say. It looks like scoliosis.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. That's another thing where doctors, idiosyncratic scoliosis, they don't know exactly what causes it. And so I often wonder, like, is this somehow tied in with some of those early experiences and the expectations? And the body, there's so much wisdom in the body, and so much emotion lives there, so much trauma can live there. And so it's just, it's amazing grounds for exploration, especially visually, through painting and also through writing. So the body has so much wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And Deanne said, I looked up your recovery video, and that was February 14th. And you said last month you were released from the program. Well, there you go. I was officially recovered in January. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is really big.
Yeah. And it was like, and I don't even know, I wish I knew how long it had been. It was over 10 years. So
yeah, that's about the same for me. Yeah.
So okay, so the next card, someone mentioned shame. So I'll hold up the shame card. And can you tell me a little bit about this card?
Yeah, so this one was also tempera paint on paper. This was for my own processing in 2005. This is 36 by 41 inches originally. And as you can see, it's like there's this outer figure, this outer form silhouetted, and then deep inside, this little guy with a little light, little flashlight, perhaps. And meanwhile, these spotlights are coming in from the outside. And so this little guy is sort of hidden inside under this facade. And to me, this really spoke to shame, how shame likes to hide in the shadows. Shame is that which we I think was it Brene Brown who said shame can't survive once we shine the light on it, or shame can't survive once we share it, basically. And so, yeah, there's so much shame around eating disorders or any addiction, really. And so this speaks to that desire to hide. But then as you go into the ritual and the contemplations on this card, it's like inviting that shame out, like inviting to bring that flashlight inside, and to speak that which we're hiding, and then to shine a light on it, and then to acknowledge it. I see you. I hear you. I love you. You are worthy as you are. You're worthy to come out of the shadows. And that's
one of the interesting dichotomies is the difference between guilt and shame, and like how guilt is something sort of like an internal moral compass, whereas shame is how we see ourselves through other people's eyes. And so in that way, I could see that eating disorders, while it's extremely isolating, it's isolating because we, do you hear the feedback, or is that mine?
I don't, but.
Okay, so it must be just it must be just my headphones. Yeah, it's a child's voice. That's very odd. But anyway,
it's your inner child speaking.
I know. It's calm down, Kristen. Let loose a little. So yeah, how shame is makes the eating disorder sort of chained to other people's views of us, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And feeling feeling flawed, like like the guilt is I did something wrong, the shame is I am wrong,
yes,
I'm bad, and so redefining that self image and finding self-worth. Now I am hearing something.
You are? Yeah. It's your inner child. Oh, that's really odd. I don't know where that's. Jonathan can hear it too. I hearing feedback. Let me try to turn this off, and let me get a different headphones.
Okay. See if there's anything else open on here. I don't see anything. So yeah, if anyone has questions for us in the meantime, I'm guessing those are coming in too. That would be on Kristen's screen, so we'll wait and see. Is that better? You're still, I think you're muted, Kristen. No sound. Oh, there's a question. Jenny, are all the paintings tempera on craft paper? Not all of them, but all of the ones that we've shared so far, Jonathan, have been. A lot of the paintings in the deck, I'd say about half of the paintings in the deck were painted either on canvas or on MDF board, medium density fiber board with acrylic paint. So Yeah, I'd say that about half of them were more of the process art, tempera on paper, and about half were created more for public display from my regular studio work. But yeah, a lot of them were created just for my own healing process, and I never intended to share with the public. So it's interesting now that they are available internationally. And yeah, that's just what wanted to happen. So, oops, there goes Kristen. Okay. All right, hopefully she'll be back. Well, if anyone else has questions, maybe they will show up here. I am not sure. But in the meantime, I'll just share that. So the deck, I think I mentioned, but inside the book, there's suggestions for different ways to work with the deck as a tool. And like I mentioned, there's multiple spread options that you can work with. And then using it as a journaling prompt, you can pull a card and then just take it into meditation time. And like I said, within this particular context, with eating disorders, especially if we are triggered, if we are in some kind of pattern or coping response, that can be a really key time to pull a card, or even to just shuffle through the cards and see like what is jumping out right now. Like, is there something that is matching my experience? And Patrice, Jenny, which image is your favorite? Oh, that's like asking your favorite child, right? And which is the most challenging? First of all, Patrice, thank you so much. Patrice is how Kristen and I originally met, so thank you for that. And I usually answer that my favorite image is whatever I'm working on at the moment. And of course, since this deck already exists, it's like they're equally, each one has a powerful message to me for different reasons. So, gosh, which one was the most challenging? I'd say there were many that were challenging, especially I'd say the process paintings, the ones that are the tempera paint on paper, were probably the most challenging. And we're going to be looking at some more cards. Oh, yay, there's Kristen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. You sound a little bit softer now. Are you?
It's a different headphones.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm on headphones, so I don't know if I'm coming in through the speaker. But you could hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear you. You sound a little more muted, a little softer, but hoping everyone else can hear you still.
Yay, they can hear. Okay, if it's muted, it's muted.
Great, that's fine. Yeah. Yes. We were just talking about, how the process paintings were probably my most challenging. And there's a few more that actually we want to share. So we could just go right back into that if you want.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is Panic, which is a very active card. So.
Yeah, this one I would say was definitely a challenge to work on, but also a real support to work on. Mm-hmm. This is another example of really creating almost an outline, a container, the body as a container, and then looking at like, what does it feel like is going on inside? Excuse me. And so, we've got this kind of racing, prickly heart, electrifying heart. We've got, the stomach, the intestines are like in knots with these kind of scared, crying eyes in the middle of them. It kind of fades out to dark, but it's almost like puking off the bottom. There's kind of hands reaching everywhere. There's tightness, constriction around the throat. There's hands kind of around the head, almost this confusion. And just kind of this exposed feeling throughout the body, throughout the heart, throughout the gut. And then we have these hands coming in from the top, again, kind of to offer the care, the love, the energy kind of coming off of those. So a very visceral card. And you know, in the book, let me pull this up. You know, each card, you know, Jessica starts with kind of a transmission of the painting. And so, you know, it says turmoil, angst, fear, chaos, the weight of expectations, again, expectations and judgment, drawing down the heart and gut, cutting the cords that pull, inner jumble of feeling, twisting, turning, crawling inside, pins and needles, constriction, splayed open, reaching. And, you know, the affirmation for this card is, I meet sensations of panic with a grounded, gentle presence. I breathe in and take a deeper look. And there's a beautiful ritual for this one, again, with kind of self-soothing and finding a way to ground oneself. You know, I used to experience panic attacks when I was in the midst of my eating disorder. And part of that was probably physiological of, you know, not getting the nutrients I was needing, but also just that ungrounded energy and panic and worry. And it would manifest as, you know, feeling like a heart attack. And so learning ways to like ground oneself is really important. My therapist used to put her hands on my feet and press into the earth, you know. And so the ritual here is very much about using our own touch, squeezing, you know, squeezing our body, you know, from feet to scalp massage, you know, and just ways to kind of ground and soothe. Yeah, important tools.
Jonathan said, so many of these cards cause a physical reaction in my body. I can feel the word on the physical level.
Beautiful. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And like like this card reminds me, like I realized that, you know, during my recovery that I just carried everything in my stomach. Like all my emotions just collect there. And like I learned that the stomach is like a second brain, like it has neurotransmitters in there. And I basically think with my gut. And when I would eat too much, it would cause panic. And so then that panic, so then I would be like, I got to get out of here. I got to fix this. I got to fix this. I got to fix this. And so that's where the purging cycle would come from. You know? And so, yeah. So this card reminds me of that feeling I would have after I was like, oh, you did it again, Kristen. You did it. You can't stay this way. You know, you got to fix it.
Yes. Yeah. And then learning to work with those feelings of panic. It's like that next layer of on top of the original, you know, emotions. Yeah. And I can totally relate to that. What a lot of these paintings over the years and ones that aren't even in here have shown me is that I carry emotions in my stomach as well. So, and I stuff them down. So, and I missed that from Angela.
Okay. I love this card. As I deal daily with an anxiety disorder, it has really helped me.
Thank you for sharing that, Angela.
And Shannon says, I need this deck. Yes, you do. Get the deck.
Yes.
See, Dan said, compression is so good for me. You know, I never learned that in my recovery. I did not learn anything like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I really felt panicked at times, I found that I used to wear really tight, I wore a really tight denim jacket and I would like zip it all the way up or snap it all the way up. And, you know, and I later thought to myself, it's almost like I'm putting a straitjacket on myself like that, you know, like when you wrap your baby up really tight and it's feeling secure, it's like something about, excuse me, something about that compression and like feeling held can be really important when it feels like we're just gonna jump out of our skin. Yeah, I think of those thunder jackets too for like dogs, you know?
Yeah. So like I noticed, absolutely. So we can move on to the next card, which is authenticity. And this is the first one, at least when I opened it, that was the first card. I guess it starts with A, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
This was the card that hit me. I was like, this is amazing. So can you tell us a little bit about this card?
Yes, this one is a little newer. This was 2014, and it was originally 35 by 69 inches. Again, tempera paint on paper. And I had just gotten into a new relationship, and it was triggering all of my insecurities, all of my attachments, and just so this image is really exploring all the masks that we wear. You know, there's this, porcelain sort of face made up with makeup that says "I'm fine" on it, and it's being held by this monster. You know, you get the impression of this monster behind it, and swirling from the kind of solar plexus area, you know, there's all these insecurities and, don't believe me, this and that. And there's these mouths. And right in the center is a heart that says, I am here. And again, it's that authentic self of, I'm not leaving you. I'm not going anywhere. Like, this is my truth. And then an invitation to explore all of the masks that we do wear, that are either, self-created or outwardly imposed. But, how are the ways we've sacrificed ourselves, our true self, for some outer image or expectation? And how can we find ways to get back to our authentic self? It took me years to really explore and find out who I really, and I guess I still am finding out who I really am. But, from an early age, we get these, roles that we are playing, and from school, like who we're supposed to be. And we get it from the media. We get it from being on social media, all these comparisons. And it's like, who is their authentic, who is the authentic being here? And when I take off all those masks and all those hats that I wear, all those roles that I play, what is the authentic self that has been maybe pushed down or covered up, and allowing that natural beauty and self to emerge? And this card has another wonderful ritual of doing a free-form dance for yourself, and putting on some music and letting your movements be wild, silly, playful, sensual, ugly, free, and weird. Like, I think of getting in front of a mirror and just making really strange faces, and I think that's another ritual in the book. But just allowing out all these aspects of ourselves that we've maybe deemed not worthy or not good enough, and finding out who we really, really are. Oh, you're muted again, Kristen. Uh-oh. While you're doing that, I'll read the affirmation for this card. It's, I stand in the fullest expression of my authentic truth. I will not sacrifice who I am to make others comfortable. Whew, that's a big one, right? For me, that's been a really big one. And some of the contemplations for this card, what are the masks that I wear or have worn in this life? How have I sacrificed or changed myself because of others? And do I feel fully able to be my most authentic self?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Am I still like really low?
No, you're louder now. Slightly more of a like resonant, like echoey, but I can hear you great.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just reading some of the contemplations for that card for authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think what really struck me about this is like wearing the mask, and how you're afraid to be too much for people, and because the fact is sometimes you are, sometimes your emotions are too much for people, and how do you process that?
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's that insecurity of don't leave me, like, you know, that fear of, are we going to be too much for someone? And someone might leave, you know, and that's okay. Like, it's really when we come into who we truly are and what our truth is and what is real and what is authentic, it's like, can I stand in that knowing that people will come and go, and that not everyone will get me? You know, it might be weird for people, or I may not fit into the expectations that others have. Can that be okay?
Yeah. I mean, that's something I still struggle with, is wanting to be liked. You know, I really want to be liked.
Yep. I mean, who doesn't really, you know, or another. Yeah, that's a big one.
Okay, so the next card is Selfembrace.
Selfembrace.
Yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous colors.
Yeah, this one is actually, this was one of my more studio paintings. This was acrylic on board, on MDF board, medium density fiber board. This was 24 by 36, and it's actually acrylic and collage. You can see some of the collage in the form of the body. And this was, I forget if I said, this was 2004. So this was kind of earlier in my recovery work. And yeah, this card, the affirmation, I embrace all the layers that make me who I am. I wrap myself in a loving embrace. And that kind of goes back to that, what we were just talking about, that compression hug. Yeah. And those, it's like that cocoon that we put ourselves in, of that self-love and that acceptance. It's like, it doesn't matter what's in there. It doesn't matter the pieces that feel broken or not enough. It's like, can I love myself as I am? And that was a big part of recovery for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a beautiful card. Now, where did you get, like, what the different words in here? Let's see, make, dream, find. Like, did you specifically choose specific words, or?
This, you know, this was a while ago, and this I actually I had a bunch of, you can see there's like shapes almost in there, like lines. You can see like past drawings that I had taken that I had ripped up that I used. Sometimes I do this where I'll take something from the past, I'll tear it up, and then I'll use it almost as I call it the compost for something else. And so, yeah, I'm guessing that at the time it was intentional to pick out some of those words. But I had kind of just a bin of clippings and of past drawings, and it's like, yeah, it's like all those parts that are inside of me, you know, just letting those be there. And yeah, I love that idea of recycling. Yeah. And in fact, I want to take a look here. The ritual for this card. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if this was the compost one. This is, about gathering a piece of paper to write, setting a timer for 5 minutes, and using the prompt, a part of myself that feels difficult to embrace. And then taking a deep breath, noticing what we feel. And then after writing that out, then standing up, closing our eyes, wrapping ourselves with our own arms in a compassionate hug. And I accidentally created this chant. That's my matey. It says wisdom of the shadow. Oh, my matey Jerry. Thank you, babe. And so we bring, and then so as we're holding ourselves in that compassionate hug, bringing a gentle rocking motion, holding ourselves, rocking. That was something that actually was very healing for me early on, and I still is that. Rocking ourselves, giving ourselves words of love and acceptance and encouragement. It goes back to that idea of the spiritual parenting. That's what maybe we didn't have, that we need more of.
Yeah. Now, someone asked, is there a self-compassion card in this deck? I don't think there's one called that, right?
Specifically with those words, but there is, of course, Selfembrace. There is Oh gosh. Now I have to look through again. What's the one I'm thinking of?
There's soul care.
Where is the one I'm thinking of? Integration is another great one. But compassion is a lot of the theme of self-compassion comes up a lot. I don't know that we use those exact words on a card, but
yeah. But I think it's this whole deck. Like I think self-compassion is the deck. So.
Yeah. That's really what this is about. Is some people get scared by the title of the deck, Wisdom of the Shadow. And oops, can you hear me?
There's some sort of feedback coming from your side.
Oops.
Yeah, I don't know if you're hitting your mic or something, like with paper or something.
I just took the papers down. Is this better?
Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that some people are scared by the title Wisdom of the Shadow, as if this is some kind of negative. And the shadow, the definition of the shadow is really the psychological term of the shadow. The Jungian definition is that which is unknown, that which is maybe under, in the unconscious. And so it's not that the shadow is bad or that it's dark or that, but it's that which is unexplored within us, that which is needing to be integrated. And so really this deck is around coming into wholeness. It is about welcoming home all the pieces of ourselves that we have disowned or disconnected from, or that we're not even aware of yet. In my recovery work, I uncovered aspects of myself that I wasn't even aware of, that I had been stuffing. And so this really is a wholeness and integration deck. And the piece that goes with that is the self-compassion of welcoming home and shining a light on all the parts of ourselves that we that are not included. Yeah.
Well, the next card that you pulled out, what you had us pull out was boundaries. And can you tell me about?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going to get to that one.
Get the fuck away from me.
This one has expletives. Jessica and I talked a lot about this, of whether or not to censor the card, and because this was in the painting. Remember, the paintings came first before the deck did. So, and what we decided was in the spirit of doing shadow work and recovery work, that we're not going to censor any parts of ourselves. And so we left that expression in it. This card I actually did, and I don't have the exact year here. I think it was around 2012 or 13. But I was actually in a situation, in a relationship that was not healthy, and that somebody said, "Hey, that's
my gosh, she's the fuck queen. That's her word." So
yeah. But I mentioned this deck has a lot of mouths in it, and this just being able to, I mentioned earlier in our discussion here that when I was really in the midst of my eating disorder, I did not necessarily have healthy boundaries. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to set those boundaries for myself. And so this was really about that, putting up those borders, those, it doesn't mean that we have to build a wall. It can be a permeable wall, but just to be able to speak our truth and to be able to say, no, this is not okay. And to create that sense of safety for ourselves. That is something I wasn't able to do in the past. And so this was a very potent card. Earlier, Patrice mentioned, what were the difficult paintings to create? Well, they all, some, like this was definitely, it was challenging for me, but it was very important and very healing. So yeah. And let's see, I don't have the, I could pull up the reading for this. The affirmation: I protect my body, energy, time, and space. I am allowed to say no to anything and anyone at any time. Giving that permission to ourselves. That we're worthy to say no when we need to. That's a big one.
Well, I mean, we've come to the end of the hour, so this has been amazing.
Oh, wow, that was fast.
Yeah, it went really fast. Yeah, and there's so many wonderful cards in this deck, and y'all are just going to have to buy it in order to see them. you know. Or there's plenty of good walkthroughs on it. Don't look at mine. Mine's horrendous.
Oh, yours is great, Kristen.
Oh, thank you.
First, and we actually just added a lot of the videos to our website, so we're just so grateful to have these YouTube walkthroughs with so many great folks. And yeah, the cards are available at wisdomoftheshadow.com, and that's where we put the YouTube videos too. And yeah, carried at different retailers that are on there as well. So
wonderful. Yeah, well, thank you so much. This has been such an honor, and thank you so much for sharing your art with the world. And thank you so much. This is so. You stick around. We're going to end the broadcast, but you stick around. Okay. All right. Well, bye everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you everyone who tuned in and for your energy. Yes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.